Somebody else need to sit here.
Who wants to sit in the hot seat? Grab the hot cable. Next.
I can probably do something.
Just
Wait,
real
you're
quick
not
on the CSS.
You're not going to play the official CSS song?
I don't have the adapter. I only have.
The adapter's
Adapter's right there.
right here. If only it could reach.
Well, China, you didn't play the official CSS song.
What? There's an official CSS song now?
Yeah, and I know you posted it.
You posted it.
Oh, I did?
Yes.
Oh, you mentioned it. I
Yeah.
posted it
Yeah.
for you, but I didn't list.
Well, for any interested parties, it is for some reason in the introductions channel. For
Oh.
Love.
Does this make any sense to you?
I mostly just wanted to show this. Yeah.
Here's the CSS.
This was a really old CSS presentation I gave back in like 2017.
Ask ChatGPT to
On
create
the
a talk on the
W3C's
JavaScript.
website, it has an
But then I
official
found out
CSS
that
song.
operator is not even a thing yet. It's still been proposed.
Yeah.
A
I've never
song.
heard of that.
That's kind of cool.
Do I
It's
need
like
to?
a-
Do I need to put this on
kinda
so we
nice
all can
for,
hear?
Sure.
I think it's more like a visual kind of syntax trigger. Or,
I'll take in the pizza
Okay,
break.
so I was broadcasting to the wrong YouTube channel, but now we're broadcasting to the.
So we
correct
had
YouTube
like
channel.
1,000 viewers instead of the typical like 2. One.
No,
Wait, what were you gonna show about CSS?
I'll show you after. I
Oh,
made
okay.
a presentation, a CSS presentation like back in like 2017ish era.
Oh, it's not going up there.
It's I'll show you some of the little tricks and stuff that I coded in there. That was way before all the grid stuff and everything.
That's true. Your laptop is a little bit older. It has the touch bar.
So for the new one though, this one
Oh, was that the touch bar?
It has a touch bar.
Oh, fancy.
So do
plus
I.
the escape key.
Alright,
That was,
Here we go. Here we go.
Yes.
we're switching over.
That's needed.
Alright, we're going to do the official CSS song.
This is the CSS song.
oh, nice.
Unfortunately,
Okay,
apparently
context.
it's not going to the TV or
Okay,
something.
before you play this, the context for this is that this is on the official CSS website.
Yes, indeed, that's
Yeah.
where I
Yes.
came from.
Oh.
It is on the W3C's website talking about CSS.
Super official.
It
Forgot
is
to show something.
real.
that I presented.
You didn't- This is as loud as it goes.
CSS is okay, I guess. Can easily become a mess. You experiment and try to assess why a page ain't rendering right. You can use sass, you can try less.
No.
The screen will say no when your code says yes. I've been writing this so long, I confess. I still feel dumb every night.
It's the start.
Oh my gosh, so much about this is a yes.
Starting
That's a
from
pretty small
basic
file.
HTML, every layer on layer of tech makes me yell.
High contrast
And the
view.
universe and my computer need help as I go insane in the head. It's not learning the code that's hard, but integrating and organizing the parts. And not to be arrogant does require smarts and careful thinking ahead. Watch out for them if you end up with them combined. Imported files and then plugins and scattered in line.
Unneeded class.
Wait, what was it?
It was called
That never
unneeded
happens.
class.
Never happens.
Under internet's full of minds. Still CSS must be more than okay. Some crazy code pens blow me away. It can all come down to if your display set relative or absolute. I just want my stuff to look good. Some folks know more than I ever could. They take to the tech like a tree takes to wood. It's their special attribute. Here is
Is it a custom attribute though?
CSS things that I'll aim to remember as I sing. Pseudo classes just count can make sense. The important directive and the order of precedence. The box model layers, grid and flex. How to convert RGB to hex. Which sites to visit to see what's new. Media queries, all the properties, and the framework too. Animating with an SVG. Struggling to debug cascading rules you don't see. All the libraries everyone seems to use. You can try to learn them all, but better just to choose. Being good by standardizing all your names. You'll never get everything the same. CSS is the way it is. It's something you just gotta know in the biz. Now I can get by, but I ain't no whiz. Guess that's why I wrote this song. Instead of writing another style that'll probably break and stay wrong for a while. But my bills won't get paid if the website's unmade, so I gotta get back before long. CSS is okay, I guess. CSS is okay, I guess.
What the random British
CSS
says?
is okay, I guess. CSS is okay, I guess.
That
Oh, he's really good.
That's
browser layout.
good.
This has been a message from the CSS working group.
It's not from their YouTube channel, it looks like, but
It's on their website. Somebody put it on there.
I know.
Well, thank you for sharing the CSS song.
I didn't mean to take it from you. I
No,
can
it's
show-
fine. You were going to talk
I
about
was just-
CSS, and it seemed.
Well, I just wanted to share. This is from an old presentation I did, like probably back in 2017-ish era.
Oh,
So it's before Grid and Flexbox.
quantum
maybe.
entanglement.
Well, there was a little bit of flex.
Maybe.
There
It's
was
still early.
Flexbox back then.
Yeah, but
I learned in 2015. I learned
There
Flexbox
was-
back then.
Flex grid.
yeah, I wasn't really
Grid
using
gap,
it.
Flex.
It was still,
Flex gap.
Yeah.
and like I've got like these like tricks of doing like circles and crescents and triangles. Anyways, I'm not good at presenting, but the thing that I wanted to show is this is all CSS that I was just taking like focus states, and each of those elements is using before and after pseudo selectors to do the three faces.
So what I was wondering too in that case is, are you using 3D transforms as well?
Yeah, let me actually pull up that style sheet. Where did that? I just pulled it up on the view source.
So when I was teaching at Dev Mountain, one of the students that I was teaching wanted to make. I don't know if any of you have played Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, and the menu for your inventory for
it
I don't know.
rotates like a cube.
Yes, he wanted to do that for his portfolio website. You can totally do it,
Oh yeah.
but sometimes it isn't quite as easy to implement as you think it should. But
I think one of the
that's CSS where you right.
I think one of the tickets was having this like preserve 3D in there. Was this? And that was a magical incantation that was needed.
Oh,
Yes.
there
But
was
then you're just like
something.
rotating. So each dot in that orb thing, and the orb markup is just like a UL list, like some faces of. Anyways,
There was something with animations that I discovered recently. Like, I don't remember what it's called, but you know when like keyframes, when the animation ends, it resets back to like the 0th one. There's a property you can set to where it will just
I think it's
stay at 100.
animation hyphen something.
Yeah, something like that. But when I heard about that, I was like, oh,
Oh,
I might try learning animations now. Or, yeah. Animations I still try to avoid because they scare me. I don't know them, so they scare me.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
going to.
like animation, CSS animations is like a whole kind of like almost industry of itself.
It's like a canvas in the JavaScript world.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing with
My
like,
night shift is probably
like
on.
3JS.
I'll
that's like one thing I
disable
wanna learn
it.
at some point.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be really cool.
There we go. Now nobody can be annoyed about that.
Oh, Jojo was on the stream.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned me. Hi, Jojo. I'm sorry you use Firefox on mobile.
I think that looks good. Okay. So I'm going to bring over two things. My terminal. And was this the right one? No. That is not the thing I was supposed to bring over. But I will fix that. Okay. To showcase this. Dang it. You can tell that I am so good at things, just not this. Okay. If you want to, if you go to GitHub, this is Node Console Playground is the repo that I'm in. I gave a bit of a spiel about this. It was kind of a hands-on follow-along thing. We don't have to do that here because this is supposed to be a lightning talk. And we know that lightning doesn't strike twice, so...
That's false. Lightning is more likely to strike in the same place over and over again than in different places.
That's true. In fact, that's the whole point for, lightning rods.
Exactly!
Like, how many times has the Empire State Building been hit?
All of them.
Intentionally?
All of them!
Exactly. Okay. Anyway.
That's funny.
Oh, that's not enough.
Alright, make it snow.
Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Let me copy this and maybe paste it into the Discord real quick, actually.
Snake MMO?
You have no idea.
Oh my god.
And I didn't finish that one. I'm so sad, but that's not something that I can really show too much about.
It sounds incredible.
Doesn't it though?
Yeah.
So Snake MMO is the thing that I mentioned before, but let's not do that quite yet.
It's multiplayer. That's amazing.
That's the plan.
It's massively multiplayer.
Yes, and online.
Over HTTP2?
Over HTTP2 because I
I
may or may
Fluvial?
not be using Fluvial for this.
Okay, is this an overlay over text you can type, or does it replace everything?
It's replaced. It's clearing the screen and then re-rendering.
Oh, okay. And you use, oh, cool.
You should execute that script on every terminal that gets opened.
Exactly. Yes. We need to put this into the webinstall.dev, and so that everyone can have a snowing terminal.
Oh, it's like a screensaver for terminals.
Yes. But there's so much more fun examples
You
that
should
I'll
have totally
talk.
done the Matrix for you.
Wait, how did you run it?
You could
You
probably do. Honestly, it's not that hard
Did
to
you
do.
just do Node?
It's you
I'm
can
gonna have
adapt
to-
this for
yeah,
that.
I think I'm gonna try
Totally.
to do that.
How did you run it?
I'm using PNPM, but you can use npm run once you've
I
installed
see.
the packages. You can npm run snowflakes.
Wait, you can. PNPM works with TypeScript?
Yeah,
Oh,
it
wait,
doesn't
I was
really
miss.
matter.
I saw PNPM execute index TS.
Oh,
and
no,
I
no,
was
no.
like,
Yeah,
execute?
no.
What is this?
I made that script.
That's your other script, one
It's
line
kind
above.
of like how AJ makes a bunch of utility
Yeah,
scripts. I'm doing the same thing here.
I was,
But I do
I
like
was
your
not reading.
comment idea, just a little separator.
Why don't you never ever use it? But yeah, so this is my snowing terminal. This works even though it's not Christmas. I made this originally for before my work's Christmas party last year.
Winter.
Yeah, exactly. So it's still winter. If you put other colors up there, maybe other symbols, it could just be confetti. So, happy birthday sort of thing.
I have this run anytime it builds successfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who needs a stupid ta-da emoji? You can do this.
Yeah.
No.
Just like as soon as it builds successfully, it just runs this script and then.
Mm-hmm. The only problem is that I don't think that works as well with the logs.
Let me dream, okay?
Yes, dream.
You can have a bunch of random stuff in the box.
Could you do this via SMS?
No.
That'd be spam, right?
I think people would hate you. Because essentially that's like one frame in one text, then the next frame in the next text. That is spam. But no, like, I had fun making this. Now if I scroll up a little bit, I might need to stop it. Oh, never mind, it cleared the screen and I had it already cleared. But this doesn't necessarily get rid of the rest. It starts at the top of the screen from wherever it is, and then clears to the bottom and then generates a bunch of snowflakes.
So,
and have
can you
fun.
scroll up on this at all?
This is as far as it goes because I started it
clears
with
it?
that. It clears it from wherever
okay.
it is currently, and then it goes from top to bottom.
And are you just running like calculations on where to display the next?
Yeah.
Okay.
Essentially, this is the code, as you can well read. Actually, this isn't the code strictly. Okay, so this, I did make something kind of similar. What? Oh, that's right. I did PNPM execute.
What is PNPM? Is that just a new
It's-
package manager?
It's short, I think, for
Perfect
performance.
Yeah,
Performance
performant
NPM.
Okay.
So essentially, it's kind of like the best of both Yarn and NPM put together.
Okay. Is it just like?
It's the same purpose of NPM, but it's
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It uses
it uses a
symlinks.
central cache
Yeah.
instead of every.
Similar to how Yarn at least does it now with Yarn 3, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
it's-
well,
So
it
subsequent
mirror
installs
your
are
packages or
instantaneous
so
because
it
your
uses
machine already has.
it uses the main registry. It's
Okay.
just that it installs it into a global place and then symlinks into node modules those packages. So you can still actually install something offline because all it is creating a symlink.
it breaks. Some
It's a good
things
idea.
break with it.
Some things work with it, some things don't.
So, yeah. It-
My work started using PNPM, so that's the reason why I started to as well.
I think it's awesome. I use it for everything except for when it breaks.
I really want to use button.
Bun I think would be fun, but Bun doesn't support HTTP.
Or director.
Or it might, but it doesn't work with everything that I want. No, it doesn't use HTTP2.
Bun
Dino
lies
has
to you.
HTTP2, but Bun doesn't. So,
People don't believe in HTTP2.
I know. It's lame.
I was, let's see, where were we?
You sent
meet up here.
you sent something.
Was it StackJS last month?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Todd Punk and I got in a debate, and he said that HTTP2 was worse than HTTP1, and I couldn't believe him, but I didn't have the experience to argue.
to argue.
But he still argued.
We're having a debate night.
He said it lacks tooling, but he could not tell me what, like.
It
specific
lacks
tooling.
what?
Tooling.
Tooling.
But,
well,
He could not tell me like.
If
what
Tad
he
Punk's on the
expected
stream
to
right
lack in
now.
particular.
see, the thing is that
No,
if
he's
you
not.
call tooling something like Express doesn't support it, yes, it lacks tooling. But
Yeah.
Nginx, Apache, and such like that all use HTTP2. If you do a WordPress site, it's going over HTTP2 anyway. Like, HTTP2 is used a lot more than sometimes people think.
So I think it was an opinionated lax tour.
Yes. I haven't seen it, so it must be wrong.
It doesn't work.
But that's
on my
the reason
computer,
why I
so-
made Fluvial, because Fluvial is awesome. Anyway, now that's beside the point. Let me show some of the code that I wrote. This is some of the code I wrote. And I will sing for you note by note.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Import read line.
So if you will re-implement Flappy Bit and Zig and present at the Zig meetup, then I will put it on webinstall.dev.
I mean, I could try it out. I have not done anything with Zig yet, so.
Yeah.
But if you want to see that too, I guess we won't look at the code yet.
No, but yeah, I think the problem with putting this on Webby is that you have to first install Node, and I feel like, you know, for 5.07 kilobytes of snowflakes. Woo.
So it's character by character. I thought it was like, I thought it was drawing.
Can you
You know,
have you
it's-
set like refresh rate in the code?
Yes, you can. I've made it so that you can change that. If you,
It should speed up more as you get more points, right?
I mean, I could do that,
And then the pipes on average should get longer as you.
or the gaps should be thinner.
Well,
It's easy mode.
Same thing.
Oh.
But
The
okay.
problem is that I don't want it to actually be completely impossible in some situations.
Well, you can judge human response time as 100 milliseconds.
Is that it?
Seems a bit
I'm not that good. My response time is probably closer to 150 milliseconds, but you know, kids that are winning video game tournaments, their response time is under 100 milliseconds. So
I can't remember what the refresh rate is, but I do it based off of the millisecond.
yeah, so
That was a close one.
you could just make sure that
Oh.
I wasn't even trying
as
to
you're
get that one.
generating the
Ah,
pipes, you
right.
could make sure that there is a 10% range in which if you get in this one within some 10% of a sweet spot, that you will be able to travel to the next one within time.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing that I'm trying. The biggest difficulty is that I need to figure out how high the thing is to be able to know if something fell from the highest point down to the lowest point. If that was the only gap available, it should be able to make it between those two.
Or you could do it that way. That's simpler.
That's kind of what I was thinking. The thing is that you could do a refresh rate where it still goes faster, but you need to space out the pipes a little bit more as far as that's concerned. But I thought that that this was a pretty good thing that I threw together. So that's the.
Okay, you could have higher resolution effects if you just have a notice telling users to zoom out really far.
I mean, I
have
can
a
do
gripe.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wait, now where's the dot?
4K.
It's tiny, but it's there.
Can anybody see the dot?
I can see it. Oh, I can see it. Yeah.
Oh wait, if I make the capture recording bigger on my screen
And we
here.
stream
That
it in
defeats the
4K.
purpose of zooming out. But the problem that you see here is that I haven't implemented it in a way that if the gap is so close to the top, see, there was no way I
It was
could
impossible,
make it
yeah.
there. So the thing is that it would have to be more robust to make it work at a zoomed out distance. That's the reason why I decided to zoom in so far too.
So, okay, but take the gap, take the gap, and the center of one gap. When you generate the next gap you generate needs to be within a distance of the previous.
Exactly, right.
So you could do it that way. I mean, because you could do it, can it fall from top to bottom? But I think, you could just take.
It's just needs to make sure that it's a relative thing rather than an absolute.
Yeah, I think the relative approach would be better, and then.
But I'm a Sith, and Sith deal in absolutes.
But you could be really Sithy about it, and you could make it so that the advance rate changes. You
The
know,
refresh rate changes for it.
yeah. So you think, oh, I've got plenty of time to get from here to there, but if you don't act right away, it just moves faster.
Mm-hmm.
And
Something that I actually started to do is, I don't know if you noticed, but like
I did not.
when I press space, it pauses for a second. I called it it is a float timer essentially. What it actually what?
Airtime.
Yep.
Yeah. Essentially, it floats for a second and then falls.
The
Before it
attention
was
for-
just immediately going. It was immediately falling after coming up, which became a problem. I think it also goes up 2 spaces or something like that.
Oh,
Right
come
on
on,
top.
man!
I know, I've done
skewered.
better. It's gotten to over 100 something.
Don't.
Which means that I'm wasting my life away by making games in the console and thinking it's cool.
I think it's cool.
Okay.
I thank you.
We've got to see HD snowflakes now.
Oh yeah. What snowflakes?
High definition.
High
Zoom-
def-
zoom
HD?
way out.
Oh, okay.
Man, this is gonna be fun to like make like CI/CD command line tools.
Uh-huh.
Like your
Yeah.
what's happening and like
Wow.
Hey, that
It's
looks,
actually
that
a
looks
fairly
pretty
mild
cool.
snowfall, but if we go over here and
Hey,
do-
careful now. That doesn't compress very well.
it probably doesn't.
So I think it gives the opportunity to move faster if you zoom out farther, so it looks like a more intense.
So the refresh rate right now is 50 milliseconds.
Crank it up.
Let's do a wait.
Some
Wait
rookie
is currently
numbers.
3.
Pump them numbers up. Is that how the quote goes?
100.
Yes.
Hail.
What's going on, you Sith Lord? Oh. Hey,
Actually, that looks more like
seizure
pathetic.
warning.
Seizure warning.
warning.
It
Squall
probably
warning. Wait,
Squall warning.
Squall
I
warning.
feel like we're like 2 seconds away from this like becoming like the ring. It's like the
I
girl.
see a
There you
message.
go. There you go. There you go.
Okay, so
This looks like Dwarf Fortress.
Okay, why is the top half, and especially the top eighth, why is that one flickering?
I guess
But
that's
Because what it's doing is it's going through and printing out every single snowflake, and it jumps to every single one. And it starts at the bottom because those are the oldest snowflakes. So, usually the stuff at the bottom is going to actually be rendered first, fast enough that your eye can't catch it. But the farther it goes, since there's so many snowflakes, it's now bouncing, essentially. It's flickering like that because not all
Okay,
of the
can you not
snowflakes...
give me a seizure anymore, please?
No!
The game regarding the screen tearing, although this is upside down from what you usually get.
Screen tearing. Okay.
But yeah, so like it's still you can still scroll up after it. It's replacing it rather than
Yeah.
doing a new thing. Like I remember, I don't know if anyone saw Parrot.live. If you curl Parrot.live,
Oh, I've seen that. And
it
replaced
creates
the
a party parrot,
parrot.
in ASCII and colors it and stuff like that.
Wait, actually.
But what it was doing, it was, at least in some terminals, it couldn't clear the screen, so it actually would just create it would essentially make another thing and create a new version of the parrot. In some terminals, it would replace it. But does it still
Installed
work?
already.
Yeah.
What?
Well, in Kitty it works.
Oh no, that's just the image. Okay.
Okay,
The 3 of us independently pulled that up.
nice. So yeah, anyway.
I'll click on any link you tell me to.
So this is the magic behind what you just saw with the snowflakes. I did kind of like try to make it so that you could customize it a little bit. Up here you can see different symbols that you can use for snowflakes, different colors. At the Utah.js one, as you saw, I essentially made it into confetti with different colors as well. I keep all of the snowflakes. I'm using TypeScript in this case so that I could experiment with the tooling a little bit. That's also the reason why we have this key thing being pulled from readline. But essentially, most of what you need to do,
Not using the node namespace.
I know. I did that in later ones.
Oh,
You can
okay.
see it in Snake MMO, and I think I did it in.
You've atoned in my eyes.
Oh, I didn't do that one. Okay. Yeah, you can do this. And who knows, and then at that point it might work in a node or in Bun or Dino, I don't know.
I'm trying to get it to work in Dino.
You're trying to get it to work in Dino. Anyway,
ANSI codes
Does
is
Dino
new to me.
require,
Is that
like,
faster
weird-
chalk?
Weird syntax or what?
does what?
Does Dino or Bun require weird syntax?
It's a different sort of, so you can import things as if it was from Node at least, by putting
you have
Node
to
before.
preface it? Okay.
Yes.
Well,
the
and
only
that's
thing that could be problematic though is that process might not exist.
yeah, that's what I'm running into. But
Yeah.
it says they've implemented process, but I don't know what they mean by that. So I'm trying
Do you
to.
feel like enable it or something?
Possibly,
I don't
because
know.
that's the way that Dino likes to do it. I'm going to do wait as 10 for now, but okay.
Yeah, I haven't taken that Dino Bun deep dive yet.
I've played around with it a little bit, found out that Bun doesn't support HTTP2 and cried a little, and then
Bun?
gave up on it.
Bun lies to you as well, because like
Does
the
it?
default. So if you do bun run my npm package, it will use Node behind the scenes. If you don't explicitly tell it to do bun like -b run thing,
Why the heck would you say Bun use myself?
I don't know. It's because I was like, how is it doing all this stuff?
That
It's
is
using
lame.
Node behind the scenes.
So this is
When it-
essentially what you need in order to get this to work. So technically, with this particular example, emitting keypress events doesn't really matter as much. You can just do Control-C anytime and it'll be fine, but these things, at least these down here, as well as the emit keypress events, are required to work with something like the Flappy Bit or the Snake MMO. If you want to have input that's not just like ask for a thing, type it out, press enter, and that's it. You need to do readline.emit keypress events with the process.standardin. Otherwise, you can't get any key presses. You just get whatever was pressed enter on when you actually look for the standard in reading. So, this process platform Win32 is required if you're on Windows. Gosh, I wonder why. But essentially, for some reason in Node, you have to specifically say resume on standard in. On POSIX, in POSIX environments, that's not required.
What does that mean? Resume.
So
You're resuming the pipe.
you're resuming the stream specifically. So standard in is a stream. Node.js has the streams, which are kind of cool and very useful and can help decrease memory usage.
Well, when do you know when to run resume?
So-
So they've typed something in.
In a
or-
POSIX command,
Mhm.
standard in is open by default.
Mhm.
And Windows arguments have to be allocated, and standard in is closed by default.
Okay.
So this opens standard in on Windows.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
I actually originally wrote this in Windows, so even though I'm on my Mac, but you can see it works on Mac just fine.
And make it work in the browser.
You can definitely do that. I think I've seen Dave Alger made a script that if you paste it into your console, the whole page snows. Which
But,
was
like-
actually the reason why I made this.
I mean, like,
The whole page.
re-implement the terminal.
No, the page, the browser page that you
Oh,
open,
the browser,
the
okay.
console that you have.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
But can it run on the edge?
it can. But that's because I don't use Chrome. Anyway,
Oh, I meant something different.
I know. See, I just like
Clever.
I say I like living life in the edge. That's why I don't download Chrome. So anyway, enough. With all seriousness aside, let's continue.
Well, it is about time to start winding down. So,
Just
So
to
I-
start. Give yourself time.
So this is what we have here. The last major pieces of this that I learned about was set raw mode to true. Now that is required before being able to really have this resume work or the init key press events actually work. And then you have this event that appears on standard in, which you can't tie into before, that is on key press. Stir is the actual string that it comes through as, which doesn't always necessarily work if you want to do certain things. Such as, if you press Control C, stir will look like an empty string, but it's not. It's actually an escape code for essentially escaping, killing the process essentially. So that's the reason why in this case I'm using key.name, which would be a C if it's what I'm looking for, and key.control to say that control is being pressed. So now,
so
yeah,
is that the keyboard key or is that the input key? So, for example, I'm on Dvorak. Is it
I
the
think
position
it's
of the letter
keyboard
C?
key.
So it's the position of the letter C, not the input of the letter C.
I think it's it's the input of the letter C. If your keyboard is set differently by default, not meaning physically, that is, it will go with whatever it shows on the key itself. Similar to how the key code, I think, I can't remember what it is, when there's that delineation between the physical key, so if you switch to Dvorak and you still have the QWERTY set up, the keyboard key does it based off of where the location is and ignores what the actual input is. Whereas in this case, I'm pretty sure that it's whatever the keyboard typed rather
Okay.
than where it physically is.
Okay. Well, and this gets even more confusing on recent versions of macOS where keyboard layouts can be part of assistive technology.
Oh, okay. So, question for you Mac people. So,
Says with a Mac in front of him.
I know. Hold on. So, Mac's file system is like case insensitive, right?
It lies. It makes you think that, but it's not true.
It
Okay.
is case preserving.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you ever had issues
Yes.
with Git
Yes.
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 and the case sensitivity stuff?
Yes.
Yes.
That happens on Windows all the time too.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I've never had issues with
If
it.
you try to change the file from uppercase to lowercase in any part of it, it's like, oh no, this is the same, and so it returns it back to where it was.
Well, I was getting it with I was pulling a branch that was the same name as my local branch, but there was one letter difference. It's just the case of it, and it's like, dude, you already have this branch. And I'm like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't.
because Git's branches are file based. So.
That's true.
And so I had to like just blow away everything, do
But
the
this
merge.
is why people need to use flipping lowercase.
That's kind of one of the reasons why I don't really love uppercasing files. I like snake case, kebab case. I like
It was
using
like-
hyphens instead of underscores.
This
Well,
whole
kebab
thing,
case is for
yeah.
URLs.
Yeah.
I don't really like it for files, mainly because I like to be able to jump from each word, and you can't jump to each segment of it in that you jump across the entire phrase.
If you
it's
use
an
underscore bars,
Yeah,
low dashes,
Underscores.
the low dashes, whatever you
low
want to call
bars.
it. Yes.
Snake case is underscore?
Yeah.
Snake case is underscore,
Yeah.
yes. It used to, like, when I first got into it, they're like, oh yeah, snake case, that's where you use hyphens. And then I didn't hear kebab case until Angular became Angular rather than AngularJS. And it's like, oh yeah, use kebab case or kebab case or whatever. I'm like,
Oh, kebab case is I was hearing bob case.
oh,
I was like,
no,
who's
yeah.
Bob?
it's like it's on a, it's like
Shish
it's on a skewer,
kebab.
shish kebab. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to run through this real quick. Like, this is necessary in order to be able to close it because otherwise with raw mode and key press events thingy, you can't kill it by pressing Control C. It will actually indefinitely run until you find the process and kill it by using the kill command. So
where are you keeping track of all their positions? You may have already shown that, and I was
haven't gotten there yet.
Oh.
The last two that are very important for this, for messing around with in the terminal, is we have this set cursor position, which is a function I made, and essentially it calls process.standardout because you're now affecting the terminal rather than being affected by the terminal. And you're saying, put a cursor to this location. And I'm returning it in a promise because it's a callback only thing. And I like the ability to await setting the cursor position rather than set cursor position or cursor to this place. And then when that happens, go to callback. And inside of that callback, call the next thing. Inside of that callback, call the next thing. It's not something that I'm interested in the least amount in doing. So I did that just as that. So cursor to and then clear screen down does the same thing. Now something to note I think about this is it clears from where the cursor is on the current line all the way down to the end. So anything prior to that, even if it's on the same line, won't get cleared, but anything after that and down will. So that's the reason why in this case I'm setting the cursor to position 0, 0, clearing the screen because that clears the whole screen, and then I render the snow. Rendering the snow in this case, this is just completely implementation surrounding that. It does nothing more. Oh, actually, this is important too. At the beginning of every single iteration of the loop, which is what the render snow thing is about, I get the window size, and that's the idea is that if you zoom in or zoom out, or change the width or height of the terminal at any time, this should update to work with that.
Oh, so if you had the terminal in window mode, you can kind of like resize it as it's
And it
going?
would still work.
That's cool.
It wouldn't throw an error because it's like, what are you talking about? Or it wouldn't have a random bunch of annoying clumped up snow on the side and bottom because it doesn't actually like...
That would be realistic though, with snow.
No, seriously. I actually was thinking like as a later iteration to this, I would make it slowly fill up the
like pack
console.
up to the bottom?
Yep.
That'd be kind of cool.
I think so too. In any case, I get the window size every single time. This is synchronous, so I didn't have to await it. But then, essentially, the should spawn snowflake, what it does is just sees, okay, is there enough snowflakes currently on the screen? If not, let's add another one. And I did, as you can see, online or one-line supremacy here. It's just simply a thing that will return a Boolean. And if so, then it pushes in a new one. I give it a random X value. I start it at the top. I grab a random color, which is just a helper function to grab one of the items up above. Same thing with a random symbol. And I did size of 1. Now, I considered possibly making it so that it could be like 2 by 2 or 3 by 3 so that there's some depth there. Right now, I'm just doing it with the symbols.
Oh, like the size of like this, if it's like snowflake clumps?
Yeah,
That'd be kind of cool.
I think so
Do
too.
some pretty cool ASCII art flake.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I was thinking about, but I didn't ever end up doing that. I might do it eventually, but at this point I think I like what it looks like already. And then I did a vector in this case. I did a slightly simpler version of this in it. Essentially like the dx and dy, delta x, delta y. This is, right now, by default, everything falls at a constant rate at 1 frame per second and stays in a straight line. But the maybe change vector function that I wrote essentially modifies or gives a different vector based off of what it might be. So I do a random thing, floor, and it's kind of like essentially on the x, either have a +1, a 0, or a -1 is what it ends up being. Because I do it at a range of 3 and then I subtract 1 from that. So it's either 0, 1, or 2 at first, and then I subtract it, and then it becomes -1, 0, 1. And then I add that to whatever the current x is. So that actually is a case where I'm actually changing that a little bit each time. So it could start out going a little bit, drifting one way a little bit, but then it could drastically increase in speed or slow down as it falls. So it sort of looks like it's blowing in the wind.
Yeah, that became more noticeable when you zoomed out and more time to.
I think so, yeah. When it's very close, you kind of get lost and like, oh my gosh, there's so much. But then like you can start to see some of the patterns when you zoom out a little bit. It's true. With the delta y, I essentially do maybe add 1 to the whatever we get, or add 1 to whatever we get, and it's either a 0 or 1. So it could either jump by 1 or go down 1 row or jump down an extra row. That's most of it for like changing the vector. But yeah. But I also do some detection, like if it goes off the sides of any of the sides essentially. I don't know why it would be less than 0 for y because it's always falling. But essentially I remove the snowflakes from the array if that's the thing, and then I set the cursor position to each snowflake, or for each snowflake when I render it, and then I just write out with the colors the color function that I picked for that snowflake, so it stays the same each time, and same with the symbol. And that's essentially it. But at the end of it, I also make sure to set the cursor position to the bottom right-hand side so that it's kind of out of the way. It's kind of annoying because, like, if I didn't do this, then it would show up right after the last snowflake that was rendered. And it just looks so bad. So it's like, oh, I'm just going to set it in one place and then it'll stay there. Of course, that doesn't work when we had it really zoomed out and started to have a seizure warning in effect, but that's because printing in general is a very expensive thing to do on screens, so yeah. Anyway.
Freaking awesome, dude.
And then the floppy bit, just as ups the ante a little bit, includes user input a little bit more than this one clearly does. And the Snake MMO thingy, I am not going to do it that small though. The Snake MMO ends up being just a simple snake game for now. It's kind of fun. This one was also cool because I do non-primitive things such as being able to pause the game with escape.
So how would have you worked on the server part of it at all?
I only have done a little bit. Technically, a server is running right now, but there's nothing to interact with the server with. All that I need to do is essentially implement the router to be able to change the direction. But the idea behind what I wanted to do with this was everyone could load up a simple browser page, and everyone could have the ability to push up, down, left, right, or whatever, and it would follow whatever you guys put into your side, and I could have my hands off from it.
Oh, so we'd all be controlling the same
snake. It would be timed out. If there's a lot of people, it would allow other people to join as well.
Reminds me like Twitch plays Pokemon or something.
Yeah, something like that. But another one was like maybe like looking at this, and this was even something that was brought up on Tuesday, but I thought about it before then even, was if anyone is familiar with Tron and the light cycles,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you could totally do a light cycle sort of thing in this as well.
Be fun.
And then it could be queued up, everyone could play,
That's where it becomes MMO.
and that's where it becomes MMO as well, a lot better.
Massively multiplayer.
Or you could also sabotage other players, so it could be multiple snakes, and similar to the Tron light cycles, you would have the ability to go in front of where another snake needs to go, and so you could have them run into you, and you could win by not dying first.
I'm just imagining someone like talking to, like, telling their boss, or their boss asking them, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm just doing some work in the terminal."
I'm waiting for it to compile, don't mind me.
Now, the Twin Snakes version sounds a lot harder due to like latency.
Yes, that's part of that's even part of a problem even with the implementing it for
Multiple inputs.
the multiplayer thing. But like,
Well, if you're just like controlling the one snake and somebody overrides somebody else's command who wasn't supposed to, it's kind of fine because it's a mess anyway.
I was thinking it would lock you up if you were the one to successfully do it, and then depending on the number of people playing it, it would
Like, create like a queue system.
increase the timeout that it would take before you could press the button again. So like if there are 10 people playing, then it could be you get 5 seconds or something to
Interesting.
let other people do it. Or
Yeah,
if
built-in latency.
Somebody were to or if everyone else has pressed a key and it's worked, then it'll free you up instead of having to wait.
That sounds like a mess, but also really cool.
I know. Exactly. This is one of the reasons why I didn't quite get it ready for Tuesday or today. But
It was cool work.
I had lots of fun putting this together. And the thing that I find ironic is that when I first got into programming, I did a class of Introduction to Computer Science. And in that, we only learned C++. And I remember distinctly thinking, because I wanted to go into a visual field, I'm like, this is fun, but I don't want to be stuck in the terminal. I want to do something more. Turns out, here I am, almost 10 years later.
You
in
found
fact,
the truth.
round 10 years later, I'm back in the terminal finding it super fun that I'm making things look cool in the terminal. So apparently I've not gone very far in the last decade.
Or you've come full circle.
Ah, yeah. It's a loop, so it must be full circle.
Yeah.
It's a snake eating its own tail.
Mm-hmm. It actually ended up as a perfect square this time, too. Well, not square, but you know what I mean.
Rectangle.
Yeah.
This really throws me back to my GW basic programming days. Like
Yeah.
this is like 35 years ago.
I know I was going to say what.
And like the way that I made animated wallpapers was I would print one cursor below the available height of the terminal, which would shift everything up. So you could draw lines or whatever in basic, and so like you could draw like a box and like it like scroll up off the screen. It's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. But as you can see, I died here before too long, and this is why I was never good at Etch-a-Sketch, so. Anyway. So yeah, that's fun. You can play with it. Node Console Playground. Have fun with it. I plan to do some more things. I've yet to find a way to actually read what's in the terminal, so you can't
You
like...
can't.
And that's one of the reasons why, like, not everything that I had in mind could work. So,
You have to keep a buffer in memory.
Exactly. You have to basically remember where things are.
There is a secondary console though. So there's actually two buffers. So for example, when you use Vim,
Yeah?
it uses the alt buffer, and then when you close Vim, everything's back the way it was before, and your scroll still works.
Yes. Yes.
So I think if you if you use the alt buffer, you might be able to.
Read what is there.
Yeah, you might be able to load a buffer, and then read. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird because you have to read control characters. So if you
Yeah.
want to find out where the cursor is, yeah, it's very difficult to know.
I mean-
when you've reached a new line, for example, you have to do all the math and.
It took a while before, with me, you can read where the cursor position is. You can't read what's under the cursor, but you can read where the cursor is. And I've been able to figure that part out. It seems to work at least on Mac, because that's when I was on Mac instead. I haven't tried it with Windows.
I think that if you want to do a cross-platform, I think the way to do it is that you keep two copies. One that you write out to the screen, but you keep in memory what you've written.
Okay. Basically, whatever the last frame is or something where...
Yeah, because I made a command line tool that you could purchase a domain and set DNS with, and I had to figure
Temporarily
out.
lost one of my domains for a little bit.
It wasn't lost.
No, it wasn't lost.
It was just misplaced.
Wait, what do you mean lost your domain?
It got registered. I had to contact the registrar and get it.
Oh, like you didn't renew it, whatever.
Well, I put it into Dapley or whatever.
Oh, so I never got you the transfer code.
I got it back out, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah,
It was
those
a
were dark
cinema.
times.
I started my rewrite into a matrix from the snowflake.
There it is. There it is. It really would not take much, you know?
Just reduce the colors down to green
And for that
change
matter,
my
you don't even...
symbols. And
Yeah, you
I
don't
just-
even need to change... Like,
I
you
took
can
out
get
the
rid
X.
of the
I just commented
change
that
of
I
the X, yep.
Put a 0.
And have it just follow the same rate every time, or have some that are farther back that fall slower or something.
For each vector, I'd want to do
Matrix
like a
effect
trailing
uses, like,
shadow.
different speeds, aren't they?
What?
Isn't Matrix about like a different speeds?
Yeah.
Yes, that's part of the thing. Like, you can do that, but you can also I know, for instance, with the Matrix wallpaper, there was some farther back and closer to, and so some were bigger, some were smaller, stuff like that.
Can you change the font size of different things? Could you?
No, not really. You
No?
can change the font size of the console, but everything is
It's the same.
the same width and height.
Yeah, if you want to make a bigger character, you have to make it out of ASCII as well.
You have to essentially make it more than one character larger, or one of the things I was thinking of is using other of the very specific ones that change the colors of green and so that it's a little bit darker so it looks farther away or something like that, you know?
This reminds me of the games I made on my TI-84 calculator.
I never actually ended up making any of those kinds of games on those kinds of calculators, but I enjoyed playing them when I found them. Unfortunately, they were confiscated from me as soon as my parents found it, so sad. I never had a Palm Pilot. All I had was a graphing calculator. Yeah. So yeah.
Alright, you got a cable.
Oh, you got.
You're gonna have to move closer.
Yeah, this.
Don't pull.
That's not gonna work.
Switch seats.
Sure.
Take the seat over here.
This will be a very short combination of the last two lightning talks. It doesn't have anything to do with ninjas, that is already.
That's okay. There's no need to be.
We'll deploy it in a GitHub action.
Yeah, do the snow in a GitHub action.
We already talked about having that be the last task. You know, the
Sure.
last step is a bunch of confetti.
There you go.
I wasn't planning on presenting this, but it's so relevant to everything we just talked about that I kind of have to. Alright,
You can use HDMI directly if you want.
this should work.
Maybe.
Keep me in shit.
It's
Yeah,
coming.
yeah, the setup.
Oh, NeoCities.
Wait, is that like Is that like GeoCities, but for new people?
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Does everybody know what GeoCities is?
I don't remember.
Well, I'm going to introduce by plugging a couple of things. So NeoCities is the new GeoCities. So back in the day, before we had like
Oh, yeah, I think I remember hearing about this now that
yeah.
I'm thinking about it.
So way back when, back in 90s times, before we had like engagement-driven social media that just like wanted to keep you on there, like beyond the point of not eating for days or whatever. The idea was that if you want to be on the internet, have a presence on there, you just make your own website. So here's a megabyte, and you can write whatever code you want. And you can have your little website that's all about you, and that's your social media before social media. It was a real utopia. It was beautiful, and it was so ugly. And,
So dystopia, you mean?
it was. I mean, look at what we have now. Like,
That's true.
So is
That's
this
true.
in any way related to Neopets?
no.
I was going to say, like, this is making me think of Neopets too.
Yeah.
Okay, it says create your own free website, unlimited creativity, 0 ads. So this is relevant to my story because when I was first trying to learn web development, I didn't know anything and had no mentors whatsoever. So I was just looking around for wherever I could host something, and I found NeoCities. So I wrote some code on there. Let's see, if we look at different websites on here, you can get a feel for what the site is like, because it's a really cool site. Let's zoom in a bit. Any of these strike anyone's fancy? Should check them out.
That one has a campfire, I think.
Yeah, let's
That
check
one's
it
got
out.
a rat gif. Funny
Rat
rat
gif.
gif.
This is the 4th most popular site.
I love it.
The others are better.
What happens if you click the one rat? Does it turn into 2 rats?
It didn't change the pointer at all. I'm not a fan of that site. All right, let's go to this one.
And it's number 4.
Okay, this is more representative.
This is like blast from the past, dude.
This is-
Are they using font tags?
This is how I remember
Yes,
GeoCities.
I'm sure they are. Because the people on here are not web developers, they're webmasters, and they're proud of this.
Oh.
They'll use those HTML tags that we don't
They will
use.
use font, they will use
Yes.
size, they will use. Oh man. I mean, I remember doing when I first discovered HTML in high school and realized that it was cool. You could just save it from a text file and open it in the browser and it would work. You're so useless.
Made with affection.
Remember buttons?
Any browser. Yeah.
Some of these have like visitor counts in a button, remember that?
Yeah, baby.
Have what?
Oh my gosh, visitor counts. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Visitor count.
Okay, that's NeoCities. I have a NeoCities. We'll get to that in a minute, but I was going to plug something else first. I want to plug a feature of Windows, which is actually really neat. Like once you try this, you'll never want to go back. So at the bottom here, you'll see this little like nav bar footer thing, right? Windows calls this the taskbar. And you can see down here that all of the windows I currently have open are just selectable from right here. And I can see what I'm clicking before I click it, because it has this label next to it that tells me in words what it is. If I have 2 Chrome windows, I can see which one I want to go to. I actually never use Command Tab. That is how great this taskbar feature is. I just thought I'd plug that for a minute.
Or Alt tab.
Well, of course you don't use Command Tab.
There's no
You're on
command
a-
on.
you're on a
Oh, well, yeah, I
Windows.
just figure like if people don't know what
See,
Windows
this is
then-
one thing that I actually really don't like about Macs is that it's an app switcher, not a window switcher.
Yeah.
Which there were some plugins that allowed that before, but I've not been able to find something like that.
Yeah.
Space Manager, kind of.
To my knowledge, Mac has
You
never
can
had.
do command tilde or is it backtick? Command backtick.
I think, yeah.
And it will swap between windows as long as you're on a desktop specifically, and it doesn't swap between like full screened windows.
Oh,
Yeah.
It
Full
only
screen
it only
means-
swaps to either the last window that you opened that was in that app. So if you have multiple code windows open,
I feel like
It-
I use multiple desktops to organize all my stuff.
multiple desktops. I actually like the way that Windows does it better than Mac.
I haven't used a Windows
Linux has had this forever.
that much.
It's true,
I'm just being.
but Windows did it better.
annoying.
I'm just kidding.
So, to my knowledge,
Actually,
Mac,
no. Windows and Linux are very similar in how they do it.
Well,
Mhm.
this phone has not had an iCloud backup in at least 5 weeks.
All right, so I'm fairly certain Mac has never had this feature. Ubuntu used to have this, and then they did away with it, and everybody complained, but they didn't bring it
It
back.
wasn't Ubuntu. It was the shell or the desktop environment.
Yeah.
What is Ubuntu? I can't remember.
The old one before they went to GNOME 3, it was Unity. That's what it was called.
It was Unity.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And like, as far as I know, like whatever the default shell or whatever for Ubuntu is, even today doesn't let you do this. So there's another blast from the past for you, except that on Windows it's still the present. So yeah, okay. So if anybody wants to check out that website,
Neocities.org.
yes, you weren't meant to see the second line yet. Okay. Okay, check it out right here. Okay.
Spoilers.
Now I want to show you the NeoCities that I made. So up here the title is The Edge, which you might appreciate.
Except for you're in Chrome.
I am in Chrome. So this is like Idincule, like every time
So
I
I'm
refresh.
only halfway proud.
Every time I refresh, it's a different photo. Whatever. I want to show a specific thing that I have on here. This is the best thing that I made before I learned any code. There it is. Let me full screen that.
What's going on
When I say before any code, like before I learned any code from anybody else.
Wing.
here? Boy, you bounced. What's the... Oh, wait, what is that? The laser?
It is asteroids.
But not dying asteroids. It's just shoot the things to make them smaller asteroids.
I originally called this Sandra Bullock's Kessler Syndrome Challenge, but I thought that was too confusing, so...
That is too confusing. I think there's a lot of context you have to understand that.
Yeah, you have to have seen the movie Gravity, if that makes sense.
Ah,
Is
yeah.
that the one with Sandra Bullock?
Yeah.
You are correct.
Oh my gosh, it gets chaotic fast, doesn't it?
It sure does. So
When
I
you
made...
shoot, it even pushes you backward too.
Yes, so I add more momentum to the system that way. Otherwise, momentum is conserved.
So, is this using Canvas?
Great question. That's the most common question I get about this. I made this before I knew what Canvas was.
So no. So these are just HTML elements essentially.
Originally, each one was a div. In a later version, I switched this so that each one is a gradial radiant. Or,
Ooh.
wait, what did I just say?
Radial radiant. Radial gradient.
Radial gradient. Yeah. So this is relevant
I love
to.
spoonerisms, especially when they're not intentional.
So this is relevant to when you first start out, like you just do what you want to do with whatever tools you have, and it turns out you can kind of do anything if you realize that you can do anything and you decide to do that. This is my full circle, as it were, except it's just where I started. Anyway, I made this app. Any questions?
Oh, I see what you did there.
Can it be rewritten in the terminal?
If you zoomed out far enough, yes.
If you zoom out far, yes, you just need the right amount of resolution, and you got
Yes. For some reason, it's slower in full screen. I never figured out why. Actually, because when I was trying to figure out why, that's when I changed gears to go do a boot camp. And then I learned like what this backend is, and like what Node is, and I never made anything as cool since.
Switch to the synth color scheme.
Before you were educated, you made cool stuff.
Ooh.
You can click this repeatedly, and it'll keep changing.
Nice.
Okay, so you did it on the click, not the on the change.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We can check out other colors. It defaults to party.
Ooh, it's not a white background. Ooh. Actually, I like party.
And dark space.
Usually.
Or light space.
Mono is just white.
Mono.
Monochromatic. So it might be blue, but it's different shades of.
It's different hues. It relies on HSL.
So
So you're just adjusting the hue number?
Yeah.
Nice.
So you're a
But-
hustler?
Wait.
What?
What?
HSL, hustle.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a big HSL fan. So like,
We're hue saturation lightness people here.
well, you're a color mixing person.
Or, yeah,
Sitting there,
personally,
but-
I like
Honestly,
to mix in my sRGB color spaces.
I personally like, which is kind of RGBA, but I like Hex better. But
just because we grew up on it. But if we had HSL,
What I mean, like, I'm also used to like the Adobe products.
But like, you know,
and-
like how to like just look at a hex code and get an idea of what color it would be.
Yeah.
You know, I actually made an app for that when I was working.
I
on
mean,
this
like,
app.
it takes some time to like play around with it a little bit to get the idea. To me, like HSL is kind of weird because the hue is only really changed in one of the values, and it gets
It's on the
confusing.
circle.
Yes, I know.
I just remember like red is around 0.
Like I've done stuff in Blender, and so like I'm familiar with the look of the HSL stuff, but it would always come up as a hex code in the end. So
yeah.
Okay, so you can go to that link to check out my NeoCities. It has some old stuff and also has a couple of links to newer things which aren't as cool as this. They use React and stuff, whatever.
Ew.
Ew.
I made a color app which you may be interested in.
Oh, that looks like it was an original
I should,
picture.
Yeah,
All of them are? Oh, cool. Like, that looks like a Utah retaining wall right there.
Color namer. Let me zoom in a bit. I had a low resolution monitor at the time. Okay, this doesn't have HSL support,
This
but
was before you saw the
one of
light.
those inside borders.
But-
Beautiful.
you can type in a hex code here or paste it, or just use the sliders. And it'll just tell you what that color is called.
Or at least the closest one is. For,
Yes, the closest HTML color with a
how do you
name.
calculate that?
What?
How do you calculate from an RGB?
Do you do like
Well, it's just 3 dimensions, so just did the distance through 3-dimensional space inside the RGB cube.
Dude,
But the names, like what's the mapping of numbers to names?
There are like 120 default HTML colors. You probably already know that. I'm misunderstanding
Yeah.
your question.
Color names. but,
Dude.
Like, how do you change it from the hex code to the name?
it's just a key
I mean-
value looked up.
That's already in HTML. Like,
Meaning, like,
yeah,
the
it's a lookup
closest.
table.
It's a lookup table?
There's a list of all the HTML colors in the source. There it is.
Do you know what I would have done?
That's how I did that.
Actually, no, that wouldn't work. Never mind. I wouldn't do that.
Code
But-
review.
but-
Let's
Well,
go.
I
One
can
of the
imagine a
things-
programmatic way. I could like display it on the screen in like the corner, even 1 pixel, and then it could be
You don't
like,
even need to do
what's
that.
what's the value of this pixel? I think you can do that.
You can do get computed style.
Okay.
And essentially what you could do is, and that could be like if they decide to change what each of the colors actually means too, even though I doubt that they do that. You can actually like essentially get all of the colors that are the basic HTML colors, and then you can do a get computed style on that, and it will actually tell you what the RGB is.
Ooh, okay.
So it would essentially
have to
be
draw
like
an
a
element
reverse map
invisibly?
sort of thing that you could create.
So you draw this element like off the screen where you can't see it, and then read its
Well, you don't even
properties.
have to. You can create the element and not even append it to the
Don't
screen.
even mount it.
I don't think you even need to append it to the screen. It'll compute the styles.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Maybe I should change this sometime, but I haven't touched these old things in
Don't
forever.
worry about it.
No,
Make a
this
new one
is,
that's
uh,
better. Make it in Vue.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
Then
so-
you don't ever need to touch it again.
So, in keeping with the theme of this meetup, here is some stuff that I
Vue's
made.
always going to be relevant. It's never going to change.
Stuff that I made
Just
in
like
100%
React.
vanilla.
Just like AngularJS.
There's like,
Yeah, no libraries, just physics.
did you see?
Just like jQuery.
Did you see the Fireship video? Like React for the haters.
Mootool.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It's a good
It's
video.
like it's not stable like Angular or
I never
or
used
fast like
Mootool.
Svelte
Like,
or
well,
all
actually,
the
I might
above.
have used once.
But it is popular, and that's what
That
matters.
was the only thing there. I'm like, no. I came after the query selector and query selector all, and so I wasn't going for jQuery if I can avoid it.
Here are 2 links for you all. Check them out.
Very nice.
I'm done.
An Histoman server. An Histoman server? How would
Yeah.
you-
If we don't wrap
The
up
best
soon,
answers
I don't know if I'll have a couch to go back to.
All right, you hear the man.
What?
It's time to shut it down.
Well, you had the last talk. You were going
No,
to talk
I'm not
about Vivint.
presenting. Well, I can show you guys some, unless you're also interested. I've got
Vivint
some
jobs.
Vivint positions for this.
All right, bring it up. Where's the, which middle? Pass it over. Thanks for coming, everybody.
I just totally
I hope you had a
unplugged
good
that
time.
from your-
Thanks
I'm
for
sorry.
sharing.
I should have asked
This
before I
was,
did it.
It'll be fun to see the Vivint jobs. I'm not sure if I'm going to go for any of them. Honestly.
This was fun. And
Oh, so to get that to run in Dino, you
Yeah.
just need to use the node prefixes
Right.
and then import process
Import process from process.
from process.
From node process.
And then you can put the npm prefix on ANSI colors,
Yeah, you'd have to.
or you can pass in the bring your own node modules flag, and it'll read your node modules.
But that's cheating. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so what was where we at?
So I wonder, can you do
So,
the same thing in Bun?
This is an updated list from
Probably.
just
I'm assuming
today.
that because the thing is,
So
like,
there's
Bun
all
has a
sorts of
similar
stuff
sort of
where,
thing
like,
with interacting with a node.
project
as Dino
managers, QA, or little software or developer and test, so focused on like test
It works in
automation.
Bun.
I'm rambling here. I should have gone over this ahead of time, but there's some interesting intern
QA
positions.
intern, I could do that.
I'm gonna get my son one of these intern positions. Anyways, I don't know. We're not streaming this, right?
oh,
we still
let
stream.
me stop.
We can
stop.
We can stream it. It's just that I'm dumb.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyways, and then the other thing that I was gonna show is this is that lab version of like the GitHub stuff that you were showing. So this
So
is the-
GitLab's
The runners.
pipelines, I
Yeah.
think it is.
Get their version of action, basically.
Basically.
yeah.
I think they were actually before Action,
Oh, very much.
because that was like their thing.
GitHub Actions was like the last one, besides maybe Bitbucket. Maybe Bitbucket had added
Oh,
that
I didn't
after.
know Bitbucket had their own thing.
They do now. They
I don't know,
everyone eventually is like,
Github's been adding
oh,
a
I
bunch
need to
of
do
like,
this.
what do you call it? Like new features with like projects similar to like Jira. I don't know if you guys been on the projects tab on GitHub, but they have like a Kanban board
It's yeah.
and like a bunch of stuff like that.
That you can use to organize issues, kind of similar to
Yeah.
how
Oh, Jira.
Jira has it for issues and tasks and
Yeah.
such.
A lot of it's still kind of in beta.
Well,
Really? It's been years.
real quick,
Yeah. Well, okay. At least on mobile.
That
real
would
quick,
make sense.
a round of applause to everybody for participating.
We have to do that. Round of applause.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop the stream, and then we gotta get cleaned up and get out of here because it is almost 10.